We've got some new details on the upcoming ship from MSC Cruises, the MSC World Asia. What's going on, everybody? My name is Brandon. If you like cruise news, cruise vlogs, and ship tours, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below and hit that notification bell to be notified every time we upload a new video. Anyways, let's go ahead and jump right in. Just a few months ago, we had the big debut of the MSC World America, the newest and largest ship for the MSC Cruises fleet, as they continue their massive expansion here into the US market. But Europe is still their bread and butter and kind of their main market. And with the MSC World Asia now being their next big ship to be looking forward to, we're now starting to get our first few details of this new ship. Now that World America is out, it's time to start marketing their next one. The MSC World Asia is expected to enter service in December of 2026, so very late 26 into early 27 is going to be her big debut in her inaugural season, so winter of 26-27. And of course, as ship classes evolve or kind of continue to grow in size and numbers, usually the first ship and the last ship in a generation or a ship class look same but different. There's a lot of changes that are typically made, especially the biggest one that I can really compare to would be the Oasis versus the Utopia of the Seas. Oasis being the first and now Utopia being the sixth. It's a great comparison because those two are vastly different ships, especially even on the outside when you're just looking at them. So, changes are made throughout the life cycle of a new class of ship. And this is no exception here with the World Asia, as, World Europa looks pretty bare when it comes to looking at the World America. Now that we have all these great things on World America, it looks like they're taking that and just kind of improving them or changing just a few small things here on the World Asia. One of the big new and exciting areas on board the MSC World America was, of course, the harbor. And now we're getting even more improvements to that area and even more changes to it, including the longest dry slide at sea. And I love that because of the competition now between the Oasis class and, of course, now the World class with MSC. The Ultimate Abyss, of course, made its big debut on Harmony of the Seas back in 2016, and it was pretty much the same across her, Symphony, and Wonder. But the World Europa also had a dry slide as well called Venom. And, of course, it has a big snake on it and everything like that where you enter in, which is really cool that they're actually changing, which we'll get to in a minute. Each one's going to be different. But that actually was the longest dry slide to see at that point now. And then they actually made it a little bit longer for Utopia of the Seas so they could take it back. And now it looks like they're kind of exchanging blows. And now the MSC World Asia will now have that record. Going back to the theming, of course, of the slides, like I mentioned, there is a snake on the MSC World Europa that you would enter into for the dry slide, and the MSC World America has a shark, which I feel like is a little bit more themed well with Miami or kind of the Caribbean vibes. But this one, kind of going along with the Asia vibes, is going to be called the Tree of Life, which you can kind of see in this image here. I've circled it, but they're actually themed after the Gardens by the Bay, the big trees that are in Singapore. So it has that Asian theme to it almost. So that I do like a lot. It looks really, really cool as well. But this, of course, you're going to enter right there. It looks like it may be just a little bit higher off the ground because it's no different than the MSC World America when it comes to positioning. It's not like it's, 2 decks high or anything like that. It looks like maybe they just, have a couple of stairs that you're going to walk up to and head down into the slide. But nonetheless, I really like this. So again, Tree of Life is the name of this dry slide, which I think is really fitting. But as you can see on each side, basically the visual changes of this area are going to be, other than colors, these two structures on each side, they are present in a different shape or theme on the World America. But, those are new, structures, if you want to call it that, here with the MSC World Asia. And even a hot tub all the way to our left here. But other than that, the harbor is really going to receive more of a retheming, of course, just to kind of fit the World Asia vibe rather than the World America. They also are going to have the Cliffhanger, which made its big debut on the World America. Of course, kind of advertising that it's the first one in Europe, and that kind of makes sense because there's only 2 of them at the time, at least. with one of them being on World America and now the second one being on, of course, the World Asia. But for those who are not familiar with the Cliffhanger, it's basically a giant swing that will send guests about 50 meters above the ocean and just kind of swing back and forth. It's just a giant swing, basically, which is really cool. Honestly, I'd never really thought of something like that on a cruise ship until this, and it looks kind of neat. But I don't know if I would do it. That's a little high. But to go along with that slide there, we do have, of course, the ropes course as well. Is going to make a return from the MSC World America, and the water slides as well. The water slides don't seem to be any different, but I could be wrong on that. But other than that, mostly just different colors, which I kind of like it. It really kind of does grab the Asia vibe. So I think it's a very well done and very well themed new harbor area here on board the MSC World Asia. This next one is a little confusing because it is advertised, or at least the way it's worded, it sounds like a new venue, but the Clubhouse is essentially just taking the place of the Sportsplex, where we currently find the bumper cars, roller skating, basketball, all that fun stuff. It's basically the exact same thing, and nothing really seems to have changed other than the theming. So again, I found that a little confusing, but it's essentially the exact same thing, just rethemed. So again, the bumper cars, roller skating, basketball, there's even the Lego family room in there. That way you can kind of build Legos and stuff like that, which I find really cool. I love Legos, but still pretty cool. Honestly, it looks like one of the coolest parts of the ship is that C-Plex area, that Sportsplex area. So just giving it a retheme, very much a welcome change, and I personally at least like it. Luna Park is another area on board the MSC World Asia that's going to receive a huge upgrade compared to the World Europa and America, as it's kind of serving as the nightclub. But here on board the World Asia, we're also going to get a brand new bar. This is going to be 2 levels or 2 decks as well, and when it comes to, I guess, how big this area is. So the new bar, and are also interactive games or game shows. So didn't go into really big detail of what that will entail, but seems like that's going to be really interesting, along with, of course, the nightclub, parties, and LED displays and themed events, which seems really, really neat. So sounds like they're going to be able to just go kind of all in and really kind of embrace the party atmosphere maybe of the nightclub here in Luna Park. So it will be interesting to see how that all plays out. There really wasn't a whole lot of detail or even renders of what that would entail or what that would even look like, but nonetheless, it seems like the nightclub here on board the MSC World Asia is going to receive quite the upgrade. The Panorama Lounge, which of course I think is this area back here, I would at least assume so given the name and the description of it, but it looks like backdrop basically of the ocean and kind of a multi-purpose, just general lounge. You're going to find, kind of cocktail hours, live music, things like that, but that's going to be a really nice area here on board the MSC World Asia, and along with, of course, the World Promenade, which is what we would, I guess, compare it to the boardwalk on board the Oasis class ships. That World Promenade is actually the outdoor area, not the area that's indoors. I can see how that could easily get mixed up, given that most people would at least think that the Promenade is the main indoor area, but with the World class, the World Promenade is actually this outdoor boardwalk style area. Receives lots of lounges, restaurants, and some bars as well. So interested to see what kind of goes out there. I know we're kind of getting our first little details of some of the restaurants and all of that. But there are plenty of things to still come here with the MSC World Asia. As I mentioned earlier, the MSC World Asia is set to debut in December of 2026, leading into the winter season of 2027. She's sailing 7-night itineraries around Europe and around the Mediterranean, which is really great. So basically just further adding and further bolstering their lineup of ships that they have over in the Mediterranean, which is pretty much one of the strongest and one of the leading market shares, of course, for MSC for the European cruise market. But one really cool thing is that this ship is actually going to offer something very unique, and I feel like this is more of a European thing. This definitely is not something that we see here in the United States, but basically the 7-night cruise, you can embark in any port throughout this. So you can embark in Barcelona, Marseille, Messina, Valletta, wherever. Basically, any of the stops is going to serve as a home port for this ship, or an embarkation port at least. So that's something that's really interesting. I feel like Barcelona, of course, is probably going to be the main one because it's known to be a more prominent embarkation port or home port. But it is very interesting that you actually could book this ship any particular day in any particular port throughout the entire week. So very interesting, and then definitely a MSC thing and definitely more of a European thing. Again, we do not see that here in the United States. It's not like anybody's going to be hopping on the ship in Cozumel or anything like that to hop on and stay on in Miami or things like that. But very interesting, very cool. Again, mostly a European thing, but I thought that was cool to at least include in here. But that's all I have for you guys today. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. What are your thoughts on the MSC World Asia? Have you sailed on Europa or World America? Let me know down in the comments below. World America is like top of my list right now. I'm dying to get on it, but we'll see if that actually works out. Anyways, thank you all again. Make sure you subscribe for more ship tours, cruise news, cruise vlogs, all of that. And of course, leave a like on today's video if you enjoyed or you found it useful. Thank you all for watching, and we'll see you next time.